Hey everyone. I'm just getting ready to produce my 30th podcast episode, which will be the last in season 2. And I'm really excited about it because I got to interview the wonderful Megan Bailey while she visited me here in Colorado last week. So that'll be coming out soon. I'm making this video because I had a past, present, future dream sequence last night that I want to share. And it has so many details and so many messages. So I'm just going to highlight some of the details and a couple of the prominent messages. But anytime you have 3 dreams in a row, pay attention because it might be a past, present, future dream sequence. This is kind of like a continuing story with 3 separate scenes, I guess you could say, relating to the past, the present, and the future. So in the first scene, my mom was dropping me off at a school, and I was an adult, and her car was leaking oil. So she had this cardboard that she would put under the car so that the oil didn't leave a residue wherever she went. And it's a picture of her having a problem that she's managing, but not actually fixing. And if you know about cars, you know if you have an oil leak that you don't fix, ultimately you're going to run out of oil and the engine is going to seize. And I would say that's a picture of what happened in her life because she did struggle with addiction, and ultimately her life was cut short because she was just managing her addiction and not actually getting free from addiction or like fixing the problem. So I was left at school where I was learning or seeking knowledge, maybe seeking the path forward, but I had a map of Pueblo, Colorado, and there was a mechanic information on this map that I couldn't find. And there was something else I was searching for too, but I'll focus on that part. And a man came beside me to help me find the mechanic information on this really big map of Pueblo, Colorado. And that man is the Holy Spirit. So it seemed like I needed a higher power. Instead of just trying to find the solution by learning and doing it myself, I needed to go to a specialist. And I think that was the point in my life where I started realizing all my efforts are falling short. I need a higher power. I need God, because I was seeking to actually fix, not manage the problems in my life. Whereas former generations had just managed problems, I knew I wanted to do something different and actually fix the problems and move forward differently. So the Holy Spirit helped me find the mechanic on this map of Pueblo. The significance of Pueblo is mind-blowing. My husband and I actually just drove through Pueblo a couple of days ago. I went with him to help him do some work on some hunting land, where I got to learn how to operate a skid steer, which was so much fun. But that's a side note. So going through Pueblo, there was this mill, and my husband and I were looking at this mill, wondering what it was, what it produced, if it was still open, because it looked pretty run down, but it was huge. And you could tell at one point it was a really thriving, because of its size, it must have been really thriving at one point. And then at the end of the mill, I saw a yard with a bunch of steel beams. And so I concluded, oh, this must be a steel mill. So I looked up Pueblo this morning because I do have a history with Pueblo. My grandmother lived there for a long time. My mom actually abandoned me there at my grandma's house for quite a while, to where I ended up going to school there. And I only just learned that like a few months ago from some family members. I thought my mom planned to leave me there for a long time. And these family members said, no, your mom left you there and never said when she was coming back. And everyone was really upset with her. So my mom has passed away. I love her. There are a lot of things she did wonderfully and a lot of things she didn't. But anyways, that's my history with Pueblo. Is it was a safe place for me. It was a refuge for me, and I felt really well taken care of with my grandma there. So I have a fondness. But also I looked up Pueblo, and it's the largest steel producing city in our country, which you would never guess that. I was really shocked to hear that. So this part of the dream was a really special message that sometimes what we see is a trial or being forged in the fire, and we can't see what it's unto. But I saw through this, God's view of that season in my life was actually, there was a purpose. There was something being forged in me, a strength like steel being forged in me through that season of my life that was then, and the picture is perfect because I just saw this with my own eyes, the steel sitting there ready to be exported. So God knows when we're going through a season what he's actually forging in us for another purpose in another season later. And so I saw, wow, I could only as a little child see what was right before me, but it's like now I'm seeing God's view that there was a steely strength being forged in me for another purpose in the future in Pueblo, Colorado. So that was the part of that dream. In the next part of the dream, this is so cool because Jesus showed up in my dream, and words can't say how special it is when I'm interpreting a dream and I realize it was Jesus. So this general in the Air Force came to me at that point and took me down a hallway to a building, and hallways represent a transition or a passage of time. In this case, I think it's both. It's a transition of season and the passage of time. And he put his jacket on me. So he had this really long military jacket that was too big for me, but he put it on me, and the name on the jacket was Cabot, C-A-B-O-T. Like, you know how military uniforms would have the last name of the soldier? That's what it looked like. So I walk into this room, and this is the interesting part of this part of the dream, is the whole dream was light, but as I walked into this room, it was dark and hazy, kind of like an underground fight club or something. And there were a bunch of other trained Air Force fighter pilots in this room, and he was bringing me in as brand new with no experience into this room with other fighter pilots who had a lot more training and experience. And they were objecting because I was so young and inexperienced, not out of jealousy, but maybe out of protection of me. And he was letting them know, it has to be this way. We need her help. Like there was some kind of a situation or maybe a war that necessitated my involvement, even if prematurely. So as I interpreted that part of the dream, I think that was a company of angels because I couldn't see them. It was kind of dark and hazy. And I've heard when you see someone in a dream who's faceless, it can represent an angel. And I just think that part of the dream is like some high calling, because the Air Force could represent spiritual warfare or the spirit realm that I'm being called into alongside a company of angels. And it's high risk. And I'm not exactly trained or prepared for this, but there's a situation in the future that's going to necessitate my engagement. And having the coat of the general was really, it's a picture of a mantle. It's a picture of a mantle that's even too big for me, but it's like the power of the mantle is what I need, not like my own physical stature or natural capabilities, if that makes sense. So there was a really large mantle placed upon me. And then the man was looking at me also with compassion. Like he was he was basically conveying if there was another way, he wouldn't have me go into this battle, but I'm needed. And it kind of had this sense of such a time as this, like Esther. And as I was interpreting, that's really what came to mind. Like, there's going to be a such a time as this situation in my future that I'm equipped for, that I'm mantled for, but like in the natural, it might not make sense. It might seem like a situation that's way beyond my experience level or my pay grade. So as I looked up the name Cabot, I couldn't, just like every time Jesus identifies himself in a dream by his name, it blows my mind. It's funny, it's fun, it's creative. So the name Cabot actually means head. And of course, Jesus is the head of the church. And so I just got so tickled by that. And I'm like, when is he going to run out of different creative ways to show himself to me in my dreams? I don't know. It's probably endless, but this is a really new and unique way that he identified himself. So the two messages prominently that I got out of this dream are the view of God versus what we see when we're going through hard seasons. And the steely strength that can be forged in us if we will submit our hard seasons and all of our pain to God and let him make something strong and powerful out of it. And then there's some kind of message here about a future calling into warfare or into a situation that I might not feel prepared or equipped for, and that I'm naturally not prepared for. But the mantle, he put his jacket around me, that is what I'm called to rely on, not my own strength or knowledge or preparation or awesomeness or whatever. So I hope you can see some of the metaphors in this dream. I hope you can receive maybe from the messages in this dream pertaining to some area of your life, trials you're going through, the point at which you turn away from seeking solutions in earthly things that basically don't have the power that you need, because most situations that we deal with in life need God's power and God's strength. It's like beyond our human capabilities. As long as I've lived in life, I've learned we really don't have what it takes. We really are vulnerable, and all the messes in life, all the trials we're going to go through, we really wrestle when we're trying to handle it on our own and not in partnership with God. So I hope that's an encouragement to you. Eyes up. There is a mountain that is stronger than you. There is wisdom that is higher than your wisdom. There is knowledge higher than your knowledge. Anything that you could accomplish on your own, there is divine power, divine strength, divine wisdom. And when you're going through hard times, there is strength being forged in you that you can't see when you're in the trial, but you will see it later. So I encourage you not to give up and keep your eyes on the bigger picture and the higher view that God has, that there is a purpose in every season, whether you see it or not. And usually you don't see it until you look back. So that's always been a really big encouragement to me, and I hope it is to you too.